just give 30 seconds or so for everyone to get logged in, and then we will begin our presentation. Hello, everyone. Just a couple notes before we begin. It's recommended that you use Chrome or Firefox as your browser. If you're having technical difficulties or issues hearing, we'd encourage you to refresh your browser. You can enter any questions that you have in the chat box in the bottom left-hand corner. The chat box is moderated, so you'll not see your questions appear immediately. But during the question and answer portion of our webinar, we'll try to answer as many of the questions that appear in the chat box, as well as those that you submitted during the registration process. We have a good sized crowd this evening, so we'll do our best to get to all the questions. But in the event that we don't, you'll be provided with contact information. You can always reach out to our panelists or the admissions office directly. So welcome to Helping Your Child Thrive at Rensselaer webinar. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. My name is Nick Rosado, Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions, and I will serve as the webinar's moderator. First and foremost, congratulations on your child's acceptance. As you'll hear, it was an extremely competitive year during the application process. I'm lucky this evening to be joined by experts from our Division of Student Life, including the Office of the First Year Experience, Student Living and Learning, the Center for Career and Professional Development, the Office of International Student Services for Scholars and Students, and the Financial Aid Office from our Division of Enrollment Management. Each of our panelists will provide a brief introduction of themselves and their office, and after hearing from our panelists, we will open it up to our question and answer session. Without further ado, I'm proud to introduce our Vice President for Enrollment, Mr. Jonathan Wexler. John?
Nick. Hi, everyone. Once again, just like Nick said, congratulations on your son or daughter being admitted to Rensselaer. It was a very strong year academically. We had over 17,500 applications come in this year. Interestingly, many of you knew this was our first year having early action, and we were also test optional this year. But one thing we found, which kind of bucked the national trend, is 65% of our students still submitted their ACT or SAT scores. In this year's class, we have students admitted from 50 states and 60 countries. Obviously, it's been challenging in the midst of COVID. I don't need to tell any of you that, and we're doing everything virtually. But the academic quality of this class is just phenomenal. It is actually, to date, probably the strongest academic class we've had accepted to Rensselaer. It's going to be the most diverse, and percentage-wise, probably the most women that we're going to have in an incoming class. I wanted to let you aware that we still have, most of you have been participating with us virtually throughout the recruitment cycle. Wanted to make you aware we have 2 virtual admitted student days coming up, one on April 11th and one on April 26th, and we can send links to those in addition to the numerous virtual events we will have. But I am excited, very excited to let you know that starting this week, we are beginning to offer in-person, on-campus tours for families. It is different, so I'm going to quickly, we can go into this later. We're offering them 7 days a week, much smaller in size. We're doing 9 plus a tour guide. We're going through in 2 buildings on campus, but the whole campus we're going to walk through, and you do get to see a residential hall because one of our dorms is not in use right now, so we're having that building is vacant. You get to see what a resident hall looks like, and Nick and the team will put in links later on what those, how to register for those. Once again, please understand they're much smaller in size and nature, so you really do, and it's registration only to be able to participate in those on-campus tours. And so we're excited about that, but you do need to plan in advance to come. And the final thing I want to say is we get a lot of questions of what next year is going to look like, and none of us have a crystal ball, but I will say this, and my colleagues can follow up on it. We intend to be back in full all the way through next fall. What I mean by that is all classes on campus, students living on campus, and my colleagues in student life will talk about the orientations and the NRBs and all that, but I wanted to reassure that right now, and obviously things can change, but our plan is to be fully functional on campus as we go into the fall and get going and a good start from there. So when your sons or daughters come in as freshmen, that's something to look forward to. And I think we all can relate to that, being in the virtual world for over a year. So I'll be able to answer some questions on the panel later, but I don't want to take up too much time. I want to pass it over to my colleague, the Vice President for Student Life, Dr. Peter Kowarski, and he can take it from here. And I look forward to seeing you later.
Oh, Peter, I think your microphone might be muted.
Hold on. Is it better now?
Yeah,
all right.
Now. Thank you, Peter.
Well, thank you, Wex. I just wanted to say welcome on behalf of the Division of Student Life. We are exceptionally happy that you've decided to make your career a Rensselaer career, and excited to also welcome you back. As John just said, we're looking to be fully back and in person, and that means a lot of different things. And we'll have some additional challenges over the next few months because we want to make sure that everyone gets ready to be back, and that includes vaccinations and preparation. And we're going to talk about a number of those things. But really tonight, it's an opportunity to celebrate the students and families of this incoming class, to congratulate you on your resilience and success over the last year. And I think the title is apt. We're really going to help you thrive, but you've already shown your level of resilience. And my team, you're going to meet a number of staff tonight from Living Learning, the first year experience, our Career Center, International Services. All of us are here to help make sure you have an exceptional and incredible first year experience. And so you're going to get to meet them, ask any questions. We want you to also stay in touch with us over the next few months. I know there's a lot of decision points and a lot of input and questions you might have. We'll have a number of different opportunities like this. We'll be doing orientation, which you'll hear about, and then you'll have activities as you arrive back in person on campus. So with that, I will put my contact information in the chat. You can certainly continue to follow and stay in touch that way. But I just wanted to introduce the first speaker who's going to help kick off our first year experience, and our longtime exceptional dean of the first year experience, Janelle Fayette. So I'm going to turn it over to Janelle, and she's going to lead you through there, and then turn it over to some of our colleagues in Student Life.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Peter. Okay, well, welcome and congratulations. I want to echo my two previous speakers and congratulate you on being accepted to Rensselaer. And I know some of you have already decided, so congratulations on making that decision. It is really an exciting time, and we're happy to be a part of that journey with you. So my role as the Dean of the First Year Experience today is really kind of to talk about what to expect. I'm going to really focus on orientation, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what happens after orientation and how we support you into the fall. I do have one of my colleagues with me tonight, and so you'll meet her towards the end of the presentation, and we'll both be available to answer any questions, just as everybody, hopefully you're seeing that theme. So what to expect? We're getting those questions. Is orientation in person? Is orientation virtual? The answer is yes and yes. And so we are doing both. We're doing a little bit of everything. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through what to expect. And so as you look at June, July, and early August, we are really focusing on a virtual experience for you. It will be a robust virtual experience. We will make sure that you are fully aware of what to expect from housing, what to expect from dining. Make sure that we give you that very high-level academic overview, right down to what to expect for your ARCH experience, then into meeting with your advisor and registering for classes. We have mandatory modules for students, and we also have lots of options for informational sessions. The information will continue to go out, and there's lots of opportunities for you to engage with us and some of our current students. And we'll have a weekly question and answer session. So if you don't want to send an email, if you don't want to give us a call, you can always jump on. We're going to have a live WebEx that you can jump on each week, and you can actually join us each week just to say hello or just to check in to see if anything has changed. We would love to hear from all of you. The two really most important things I want to highlight about the summer is we recognize that people are busy, and we recognize that students are, particularly in June, they have things going on and they're still in school. And so we actually tape all of our sessions, and so we will host them for you. So let's say you're like, oh, I really want to see this session, but the 3 times that it's offered, I'm not actually able to see it. We're going to host those for you, and you can actually go back. You can watch them multiple times. Okay. Our goal for orientation is obviously to make sure that you're well informed and that you're ready to start with us in the fall. So that's really mostly June, July, and early August. As August rolls around, we are preparing for your arrival. We are getting excited. We hope you are getting excited. We're sending lots of communications. And we're really focusing on that Navigating Rensselaer and Beyond, which a lot of other schools call a welcome week. And that's late August. Our classes this year will start Monday, August 30th. And so our welcome week, Navigating Rensselaer and Beyond, will be 4 to 5 days right before classes begin. That is for students, and it is really geared for students to meet other students, make some connections, make some friends, make sure that they know what clubs and organizations we have, what resources we have, what support we have, and to have a little bit of fun. And so we take care of all the business in the summer, and then really once you're here with us on campus, it's really important that you have a friend or maybe someone to talk to or go to lunch with. And so we pride ourselves on making sure that all students have a connection before they start their first day of classes. And that's what NRB is all about, as well as, obviously passing along a lot of really good information for all of you. Okay. So what happens after orientation? Does the first year experience just kind of go away? No, absolutely not. We are here for you the entire year. We do switch gears very fast, and we become more of a support office. We absolutely focus on social and academic integration, and we do that through several different programs. The one I'm going to highlight today is our Persist mentor program. You may have heard about it already, but it's our largest mentor program. And the reason I talk about it is because it probably, out of our class size, I think it gets 3/4 of the class, and that's just one mentor program. We do have other mentor programs, but this one is a beautiful hybrid with our School of Science. And so we partner, the Student Life Division partners with the School of Science. And what we have is we have students that are taking Calculus 1, Physics 1, or Chemistry 1. They have their faculty member that teaches their lecture. They have their recitation that's taught by a graduate TA. And then they also have a mentor. And the idea is that the vast majority of our students are taking these 3 cornerstone courses. And we have recognized over the years that our first year students are really, really bright, and they've never had to actually raise their hand. They never have had to say, I don't understand something. And so what we do is we bring it down to a group size of 10. Those mentors have those students in those 3 cornerstone classes, and they say, we're going to go through some of these homework problems. Who has a question? And then they also are passing along some of those common transitional challenges that our first year students face. Okay, so that's a little bit about what we do. We do have a class dean model at Rensselaer. So after the first year is over, I obviously hand over the class to the sophomore class dean that takes the student right through to graduation. I don't want to take up too much time. I wanted to give you kind of a really high level overview of what's happening. I'm happy to answer as well as my colleague any questions about orientation. I know I'm going to get the question about when the timeline will be up on our website. We are anticipating that we will have that live by the end of May. That was what we did last year, and so I think it worked really well. As we think about, I know our students are still in school, and so we want you to focus on finishing up those classes strong, and then I promise we'll take care of you once kind of you wrap that up. We're ready for you. Okay, so the big thing, please don't hesitate to reach out to us ever. We do have a robust parent program that my colleague will talk about. She's our parent liaison and really fabulous. So she'll kind of wrap us up at the end. But again, congratulations. We're really excited to have you, and I'm excited to work with you this fall. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, John Lawler, who is the Dean of Student Living and Learning. Thank you, everybody. Or maybe I'm going to talk about, no.
I'm here. Hi, everyone. My name's John Lawler. I'm the Dean of Student Living and Learning, as Janelle mentioned, and we oversee, at least for first-year students, the most relevant space is the residential experience on campus. But our relationship with students extends well beyond the first year. Residency is required for the vast majority of students' first 5 semesters, the first year, the second year, and their summer arch program that happens after the second year into the junior year. We also work with our students who enter into the fraternity and sorority system, the Greek system here at the university. So if your student explores that, we'll maintain a connection with them there. And we also maintain connections with all of our students off campus through our Office of the Off-Campus Commons. So basically, regardless of where your student lives, we're going to be maintaining a relationship with you in that context. I think for most folks now, the concern is about the residential experience on campus. All of our first years do live on campus. They participate in the meal plan. And our hope is that we'll be able to have the housing application up and running sometime late April, early May. Being such a crazy year with COVID, some of our traditional timelines have been upended a little bit, but we'll be working with Janelle to get that message out to everybody. When students do apply for housing, they do so, they can identify sort of their interests and their habits, and our software helps match people up. And you can also choose your own roommate if there's someone that you know here that you want to live with. Ultimately, throughout the first year, our entire staff is oriented, much like Janelle said, to your success as a student at Rensselaer. We tend to focus on the social pieces, aware of the academic pieces, but mostly helping students in that living environment and making sure that is a space in which you can be successful as a student, and certainly with your peers in terms of your connections there, laying down roots in the Rensselaer community so that long-term you feel like you're in the right place. Our resident assistants are there as upper-class mentors and role models who have figured this place out and can help you navigate what it means to be successful, especially in this first year. And then we have our assistant deans, who are professional staff who live in the residence halls, who are oriented towards exclusively the first year population that they live with, to help them navigate, to be resources, to help when there is that emergency or a parent can't find their kid and it's up to us to go track them down. But ultimately to be there and part of that community and helping you succeed as a member of the Rensselaer community. Our students will be scattered throughout our first year residence halls. First years live with first years, our second years live with second years, and so on, so that we can orient all of our resources towards you as a class, because your needs in the first month of your college career are somewhat predictable and somewhat typical, and we can orient our programming and our support for you in a very directed and intentional way, a curricular approach, if you will. And then knowing sort of what happens throughout your college career by keeping you together housed as a cohort, moving through the residential experience as a cohort, knowing that the staff are prepared to work with you as a first year, and then when you're a second year, a staff who's prepared to understand your needs as a second year, and so forth. Ultimately, our job is to help you feel good about being here, feeling supported, and being successful in the classroom and getting through to your degree. And that's literally 95% of our energy goes towards those ends. And ultimately, your success means that we're doing a good job. So there are probably a lot of questions about housing. I don't want to take up too much time because there's a heck of a lot more to your experience at Rensselaer than just me and the living, learning environments that we have, but we'll definitely answer questions as they come. I don't know who I'm supposed to be handing off to because I was not able to make it to the rehearsal, so I'll look for a little guidance on who comes next. Oh, it's Phil. This is my friend Phil Bruce.
I believe you're muted.
How's that?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, so what I was saying was thank you, John, and I would echo the comments of congratulations to everyone who's been accepted to this amazing institution. My office is the Center for Career and Professional Development. Our job here is to facilitate your development in the career world throughout your 4 years at RPI. We've got some things built into the matriculation, if you will, called the ARCH program that will help you with this process. And when it comes to what services the CCPD provides, we aim to be both transactional and transformational. So what I mean by that is we have 3 teams, a career development team, an experiential learning team, and an employer relations team. You can get a resume critique at any time. You can get interview assistance at any time. And we kind of view those as transactional services that you should expect from any good career center. Where we feel like we do a really good job also is the transformational piece, and that is building a relationship with your student from the first year all the way up through their graduation and beyond. We do serve alumni as well. So what I mean by that is we have a career development counselor that is assigned to each of the colleges. And they work with your student at every level, just as John was describing about how your needs are somewhat predictable, at the freshman level. We do know that our students are exceptional in many ways, and they're going to progress through their career development at different stages. If you have one person that you work with throughout your 4 years, they're going to know where your needs are and how to design programming to support you. So that's an important piece of what the career development team does. They focus entirely on the students. Experiential learning team does what it sounds like, right? They work with you to make sure that your co-op, your internship, or your civic engagement experience is as developmental as possible. So we not only help you secure those opportunities, but we teach you how to do that for yourself in the future. We teach you about when you're in your co-op or your internship, how to make the most of it. For many of us that grew up in a different era, summer was the time to do your internship. And you may or may not have, gotten to know everybody if you were doing a 12-week internship during the summer until week 10. We don't want that. We want you to start off in week 1 building bridges, building your network, understanding the value you have in that experience. That is the kind of thing the experiential learning team helps you with. And finally, the employer relations team, they are completely focused on securing opportunities and building partnerships with employers. Who those employers are span the globe. We have students who intern in numerous different countries. They co-op locally, regionally. It really is up to the student where they want to go. And if you think about what I said at the beginning, if you're talking to your career development specialist at the freshman level, you can let us know. I really want to work for a company in Arizona, and this is the size company. This is the kind of industry I want to go into. Well, by the time you get ready to participate in the ARCH prep course, which happens your sophomore year, our employer relations team will have that information and will have sourced opportunities for you to apply for. We don't hand out opportunities. We don't just give you a job and say, here, this is where you're going, for a variety of reasons. But the number one is you may not like that job. We want to make sure you do. So we feel it's best to hear from you where you want to go. Let us go and track those opportunities down, and then let the career development team help you be successful in securing them. So my office is available to you in today's world pretty much all the time. Virtually, we have extended office hours. We can reach students at the times that are best for them and facilitate whatever interaction they want to have. I know there'll be some questions. You probably want to know, the names of employers, the types of experiences, that kind of thing. So I'll be glad to answer any of those questions. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Marty Daniels, who also has something very important to tell you about, and that's money. So there you go, Marty.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Philip. And it's great to have some time with everybody again this evening. As some of you may know, if you've joined our financial aid webinars, we have a lot to talk about, and I'm able to spend a lot of time on that. But for this evening, I want to be brief and just highlight again our service structure, including our amazing financial aid website. A couple of the things that have been talked about already have specific topic pages, including the ART program, as well as co-terminal. And similar to the other departments that have represented themselves, we also try to structure our students into a kind of a controlled service environment that features our assistant directors. So as you come more into the fold with Rensselaer, you'll get to know those folks a little bit better. And certainly we're still processing awards at all times. So I will keep it to that for now, and also understand there will be a few questions later on here in just a short while. So with that said, I will go ahead and turn it over to Mary Nellis with our International Services Department. And there's also great information about how financial aid can work with study abroad on our website as well. So welcome, Mary, and over to you.
Thanks, Marty. As I was introduced, I'm the director of the International Services for Students and Scholars office on campus. And I'm really happy to be here. Often we aren't at the forefront. We do quite a bit, and we liaison with all of the other offices that have been here. I'm particularly excited. We have about 17 to 18% international student body at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, which is very high and particularly exciting for me. But what we do in our office is pretty broad. So we provide services for international students from the time we're handed off from admissions. Admissions issues documents for our incoming international students. And then we receive their information and we work with our incoming international students and FYE. And then we continue to support our international students in maintaining their visa status the entire time that they're with us at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute and then beyond. There are certain visa benefits that allow our international students to work for a period of time when they're done, and we support them through all of that. We do immigration advising, we do liaison to other departments, we provide a lot of various support, and we offer programs that kind of help explain to our students how they can utilize some of the benefits of their visas. I put on here one thing that's kind of important, and that is that we're not a government agency. We work directly for RPI, and we provide services to our students as such. So we're able to answer a lot of questions for them, and we can provide the best service possible as they go through their career, and we can really give them personalized service and answer them honestly in the broader scope of what they're hoping to accomplish here with us. I just wanted to add a little bit more of how to reach us, and I think that most of the questions for our families here will be related to most of my colleagues' other offices. But I wanted to kind of let you know the flow. Again, initial I-20s, the immigration documents are issued by admissions, and then we reach out and provide a separate international orientation for our incoming international students. We continue to provide them with immigration updates. There's a lot of things going on with international student visas these past few months, and we make ourselves available to answer questions for our students. We have virtual advising every single day. And so I do encourage any of our international students or parents, frankly, to reach out to us with their questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. And we'll keep you updated with any changes to immigration regulations as we go forward. And with that, I am not last. I will be handing over to Maria Roberts and a couple of our parents to talk more about student experience going forward.
Thanks, Mary, and welcome everybody. And again, I just want to say congratulations and a big congratulations to our parents as well. This is a big transition for all of you, and so I'm really pleased to be able to be on this webinar tonight and talk to you a little bit more about our parent and family programs. So I'm Maria Roberts, and I serve as the Associate Dean for First Year Experience, and I also serve as our parent liaison. So that means that I basically support parents of students of all class years, and you know, the parent involvement seems to be a little bit bigger on the front end, which is why I'm also part of the First Year Experience team. And as Janelle mentioned, I also support first year students throughout their first semester and their first year. And with that, I'm kind of supporting parents right along the way. So a few things that we do that are unique to Rensselaer and unique to our office is we put out monthly content for you. So starting in the summer with what Janelle mentioned with our orientation, we're going to be communicating with parents just like we are communicating with students. And sometimes you will get the same information as your student, so that you kind of are up to date on what they have going on and what's expected of them. And sometimes you will get content that's really specific to parents and things that we would ask you to participate in or be inviting you to join us on. So a lot of that stuff is geared towards helping you support your students. So I think, you know, over the years, the kind of relationship I believe has changed, you know, between college students and their parents. And, you know, we used to say things like, oh, you know, letting go, it's time to, you know, let your student kind of be on their own. But the reality is they're not really on their own. They are supported by us, and they're still supported very much by you. And so I like to say more, let's partner appropriately where it makes sense to support your student. And all the while, I'm here to support you so that you can support your students so that they can become more independent. But then you also become educated on Rensselaer and educated on the college process. So we put out a monthly email, and over the summer during orientation, that'll be a little more often. But during the year, I put out newsletters to all parents, and that's really to keep everybody updated. It's to keep us updated on the campus happenings, keep you updated on what's expected of your student. Especially this year, you know, we've had a lot of changes on campus. We've had a lot of things that we want to keep parents informed about in terms of our compliance, different safety measures that we're taking on campus. And as those safety measures loosen up, we will continue to keep you updated on those. So we like to keep our parents informed and keep them involved. We also host, in addition to that, family forums. Again, this is separate from the orientation. So in the orientation, the family programs, the parent programs that will be offered will be very much geared towards incoming parents. But during the year, we host what's called family forums, which is a once-a-month program where, and it was actually started, and I have to give credit to a couple of parents that are part of our larger parent leadership group that they'll come up here in just a second and introduce themselves. But this really came from ideas from parents. They want to hear from us more. They want to talk to us. They want to get their questions answered, not really unlike what we're doing tonight. You know, everybody has a lot of questions, and your questions will just change as your student moves through the experience. And that's okay. And we're there to answer them, and we're there to help you. Some of the ones that we've done in the past, we've talked about career development. Philip and his team have been on quite a bit. The arch, dining, academic support, health and counseling. So there's really ongoing education for parents throughout their students' experience. It doesn't just stop at the orientation. And so, like I said, it's not really about letting go. It's more about partnering appropriately and supporting you as we go along. The parent liaison, that's me. So really, the biggest thing is that I'm a point of contact for you. And so you may get to know me really well in the beginning. We may talk a lot. And then, you know, as your student gets in their groove, you may see me at a family weekend down the line and be like, oh, you know, I remember Maria from orientation or whatever, but, you know, maybe we don't talk as frequently, or maybe you just have a quick question. Anything in between, you can always use that email, parents@rpi.edu. That is really there for you to communicate with us directly. And I use that to also connect you to my other colleagues. So you can kind of think of that as a little gateway into kind of our world. If you don't know who to contact, that's always a good default for you. And your students also have access to their class dean. As Janelle mentioned, they have access to us all the time on their own. But parents specifically sometimes have questions, or they might say, oh, I don't want my student to know that I'm asking you this. But so that's kind of there for you as well. And then one thing that we're really excited about, I just wanted to throw up here, is our family weekend, which is something that we look forward to every year. We did have family weekend this past October, but it just wasn't the same as what we normally have, which we can host, you know, upwards of 300 or 3,000 guests on campus. We love to incorporate our athletics events, cultural events, traditions. We love to celebrate our families, and we always have a really good turnout. So we're hoping to get back to that. So we'll provide you more details as we can. Things are looking really good. I know I was on a call last night with Dr. Lawrence, and you know, we're really just hopeful with the vaccines that, like John Wexler mentioned in the beginning, getting back to a more normal campus, and included in that would be our family weekend. So we will keep you updated about that. But if you are already kind of planning on joining us, you can save that date, October 15th through 17th. So I'm going to wrap up here before the Q&A, but before I do, I want to kind of call up so you can broadcast Marcy and Samarpada, who are two of our current parents who I work with quite frequently, and they're just going to kind of introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about them and their students and their experience as a parent, and then if they can answer any questions, we'll have them do that as well.
You want me to start? Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Mercy. Yeah.
Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to RPI. Maria, I'd like to firstly thank you for inviting Samarpita and I to address the parents. I'll give you a brief background about my son. My son is a senior, so we are thrilled to be graduating this May. We hail from Northern New Jersey. He is a industrial and systems management engineer with a minor in professional writing. I have no idea, but that is his minor. He is currently enrolled in the co-term program. He will get his Master's of Science in Business Analytics. So we will be around for one more year, and I get to hang out with Maria. I think I'll miss her when my son graduates. My son currently is a research assistant for the Industrial Systems Engineering department. It is actually very exciting for him, and we're excited that he's able to research with a professor. He also has the opportunity for a fabulous internship this summer. We actually had an internship last summer. I've come up with a new verb. It was COVIDed. It was canceled. He wasn't able to participate. But this year, because he is staying for another year for his master's degree, he will be working virtually from home. Otherwise, he would be in Boston. But this internship, he actually got through using LinkedIn, and an RPI alumni saw his profile, talked to him, and he actually got the job. The previous internship, he actually went through CCPD. So I love CCPD, by the way. I am their biggest cheerleader and advocate. They are absolutely incredible. So Philip, kudos to you. But he had that job, and he was really able to learn how to negotiate salary. He had 3 job offers on the table. He talked to CCPD, and they sort of directed him. So I always speak highly of CCPD. In addition, my son is in a fraternity. Last year, he lived in a frat house until March when it was COVIDed. That's another time it happened. And then this year, he's actually off campus in his own apartment. It actually has been a wonderful opportunity. He's learned how to use an Instapot, an air fryer, and he learned how to fry chicken. He's also an athlete on the track team. He's been on the track team for all 4 years. And so he really enjoys that. He's a Strive mentor. So I think it's this year, Strive is a program that supports underrepresented students. It assists them and it helps them with social guidance. And so he's really excited about being able to show people the tricks of the trade. He's on the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. This past summer, after the George Floyd incidents, RPI did a wonderful job of bringing together their underrepresented students and talking to them about their experiences and their concerns. My son was invited to participate on a panel representing the track team, and from that participation, he was asked to join the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. And so we're proud of him that he's able to use his voice and that RPI is interested in hearing from him. And then pre-COVID, he was the student event coordinator for admissions. That didn't happen this year because he was responsible for planning events for the Garnet D. Baltimore Scholarship and the STAR program. So that's just to share a little bit of, and this is 4 years accumulation because he is a senior.
Thanks, Marcy. And Sarah Pizza, you can go next, and who has a little bit different angle, I guess. So.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Thank you, Marcy. Welcome your all new parents, and congratulations to your fantastic kiddos. You've come to the right place. We are from Colorado Springs, Colorado, so we travel half the country to get to RPI, and I can tell you it's been an amazing journey to travel all that way. My daughter, she is a sophomore architecture student at this time at RPI, and she has loved her 1.5 years out there. Their architecture studio is fantastic. It's housed in the Green Building. And I can tell you one thing from my daughter, most architecture, or I should say all architecture students spend 95% of their life in the Green Building. So be prepared for it. My daughter says, oh, I wish I had a dog bed so I can spend my nights in the Green Building. So yes, they work a lot in the Green Building in the architecture studio. Right now, due to the pandemic, it's obviously not that way. But RPI has done a fabulous job of having in-person classes for the studio as well as online classes. So it's a beautiful blend out there that the architecture students are getting. My second one will be a freshman engineering student starting fall. So now we have 2 strokes at RPI. So it's fantastic. So if you have any questions, please let us know.
Thank you both so much. And then I'll turn it back over to Nick so we can get back to Q&A.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Really great information that you all provided us. Just wanted to provide you with some opportunities to connect with us in a number of different ways. I posted in the chat already. RPI Admissions does have a YouTube page, and we've been recording all of our webinars for the last year plus, and many of them are posted on our YouTube page. So you can go follow the link that was in the chat box, go.rpi.edu/rpiyt. We also do have a wonderful Instagram account, so we encourage you, pull out your phones, follow us at RPI Admissions. We have takeovers every week from student, faculty, staff, so you can really learn a lot about what is going on at RPI, even if you're not able to visit. So encourage you to reach out and connect with us in a variety of different ways. All right, let's dive right into the questions. Some of these questions came in during your registration. Some are coming in the chat box. We'll try to get to as many of them as possible while keeping your time under control, and when we understand their time is valuable. So this question probably be best answered by John or Peter. There's been several questions about the discussion, the decision, if a decision's been made about if students will be required to have the COVID vaccine to attend or participate in classes and activities next fall.
I guess I can go first. No decision's been made. The university is looking at it. There has been 1 or 2 schools where this announcement, keep in mind, there's about 3,700 universities and colleges out there. So we're taking everything into account. We're evaluating it. What that means is, looking at it, you should know that historically at the Institute, faculty and staff, high levels, we're talking like 99% get the flu vaccine. So our confidence level is that the majority of the campus and then some will be vaccinated. Whether it's a requirement is something we're still looking into. My colleagues and student life, I don't know if they have anything different.
Nick, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good, Peter.
I was just going to echo what John said. We look forward to having the students back fully, and I think to really help us will be a movement toward vaccination. Like John said, it won't be decided now for a little bit. We're doing the research right now, but Dr. Lawrence on our team will be making a recommendation to the president and the cabinet. And as John said, we really take safety and health, as a top priority. And so we've had a number of protocols in place to keep our students safe. And if that helps, which I think it will, I think we'll probably lean in that direction. And my advice to all of you is if you can get the vaccine, get it and be safe, and we'll all be in a better place. So, but our thoughts are with all of you because I know it's been a tough year for each and one of you. So.
Great, thank you. Maybe Peter, you could start with this question. There's just a general question about campus safety, the public safety office, those sort of concerns that obviously a lot of parents have, particularly if they're sending their son or daughter away from home for the first time.
Yeah, great points. I will say one thing. We have a really seasoned leader at the helm of our public safety officer, Vadim Thomas, and he actually, since COVID, has been sitting in on our cabinet meetings and helping us advise on kind of emergency protocols. So I will say, anytime you're going into a new location, I would just encourage our students and families to be, focus on, learning about the basics around the campus resources. And we have an incredible array of resources, including, public safety on campus in a number of different formats, a lot of visual surveillance, ID cards, lights, where people can, hit a light and, an officer will respond immediately. But really the most important thing is that, we sort of follow the mentality, see something, say something, and, use your common sense. Don't walk alone. Don't walk at night with headphones in. Don't be distracted walker. It is generally, with the area we're in, is a very safe area, but at the same time, crime can happen when people are not paying attention, and we want you to make good choices. And so a lot of that is getting to know the campus, getting to know the community, and using the resources. We have transportation transportation resources. We have, the officers will do an escort, pick you up. We have a safe ride service in the evenings and weekends. And so all of those things exist to make sure that you have a safe experience. At the same time, it's a responsibility you have to just be a good member of the community and be responsible. And part of that responsibility is getting to know the community and making good choices yourself. And so we'll spend a lot of time at orientation. You'll hear directly from the public safety staff. You'll hear a lot when you move into the residence halls. And so we'll be spending a lot of time just doing that education to prepare you.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Next couple of questions are for John Lawler. So while he kind of starts broadcasting, I just did type in the chat box. Someone was asking if there's specific residence halls for freshmen. I did put a link in there to the housing comparison. It's kind of a great kind of snapshot of each of the residence halls, whether it's freshmen or upperclassmen. Does it have air conditioning, singles, doubles, that sort of thing? So I'd encourage you can follow check out that website for a lot of the questions. But John, just kind of overall questions. When will a housing application open approximately? And then for freshmen, are they living in doubles, triples, singles? What sort of options are available for freshman students?
Our timeline that we're shooting for is late April, early May. Like I said earlier, COVID has kind of upended a lot of our typical processes, but we believe those are reasonable goals for us, and we're pretty much there, ready to go. The vast majority of our first-year students are going to live in double configuration if everything goes the way we expect it to for the fall. We do have some triples, and we have a handful of singles, usually kind of set aside for students who need accommodations or unique circumstances. But the vast majority of students should land in double room configurations. And again, occasionally some triples and a handful of single rooms.
Great. Another question that came up was, I know that students are required and guaranteed housing for their first 5 semesters, so their freshman, sophomore year, as well as their arch semester. What about the availability of housing for further upperclassmen?
I haven't been here incredibly long, but we've never had to turn away an upper class student who's wanted housing. Last fall, when I first got here, a couple of years ago, we had a student show up on move-in day because his off-campus apartment had been flooded over the summertime and literally showed up on the day of his move-in at his apartment, and we were able to get him squared away in housing on campus. We currently have ample availability for housing for students who go through the traditional process of housing selection, and even for students who show up in emergency situations. So if a student wants to stay with us for 4 years, we're pretty darn confident that it's going to be a comfortable situation for them because we can take care of them.
Great. On the housing application, is there options for any themed housing, living, learning communities, and/or gender-inclusive housing?
Gender-inclusive housing is a separate process that we set aside because that's usually a very personalized decision. Students want to tell us specifically what their unique circumstance is, and we have a staff member who will work with that student to help them navigate the options that we have for them. It's pretty extensive, but finding the right fit's really important, obviously. The other thing that we have across our learning communities is things that are a little bit more academically based, things that are a little bit more thematically based. Lots of options for students, and typically students who do make those requests by about June 1st will be placed in them. After that, as they fill up, availability clearly can go down and students may not get their first choice. But they are really good ways to get acclimated to the university, build some really strong connections with like-minded folks in their first semester and their first year at RPI.
Great. And then finally, a couple of questions where you discussed the roommate match process. What if a roommate match process goes bad? What sort of options or remedies do you have if roommates aren't getting along? I mean, I know a lot of times you're able to kind of suck it up and just coexist for that semester or year. But what if there are other larger issues, or what sort of process would a student take?
Our hope is that students don't have to suck it up. We go through a process with our students if they notify us. It's amazing how many times we find out from parents that a roommate situation is not going well because the students don't want to tell us what's going on. But 9 times out of 10, if we sit down with the students, we can help resolve whatever issues there are. It's oftentimes low-level stuff that kind of bubbled up to a head, and it's a lot of tension that needs to be broken. However, if we do find a situation where the situation isn't something we can resolve, we do and can very easily help students find other housing options. The challenge is oftentimes everybody wants the other student to move, but we're accustomed to that, and we will be there side by side with the students to help them navigate those options. But our real goal, honestly, is to help them come to some kind of conclusion to stay in that space rather than just sometimes flee a situation that could have been resolved. But again, not everything can easily be resolved, and sometimes the most painless option in terms of someone moving on is the best option. And we'll consider all of those with your students.
Great, thanks so much, John. Probably these next couple of questions, maybe if Janelle could pop on, she can probably best answer these. Combination maybe of some others can hop on as well. But a couple of questions, and we can all kind of jump in. Maybe just talking a little bit about academic support that's available, kind of tutoring, advising systems, early warning systems, if you just want to touch upon that briefly.
Sure. That's a hard one. Where do I start? So tutoring services, yes, we have the Advising and Learning Assistance Center that runs tutoring. It's Sunday through Thursday, and it is offered for mostly all first year and sophomore level courses. And if there is a course that you're taking that we don't offer tutoring for, we'll try to find one for you. So we have the Tutoring Center, we have supplemental instruction as well. Supplemental instruction is actually where there's someone who has been trained to actually review the material again. So they're actually reteaching the material. And they sit in the session with the faculty, or they're going through the class while the faculty is teaching, and then they actually are regurgitating the information for people who might need to see it again and again. I do think things will change, the landscape will change in that sense, because we have really started taping a lot of our classes, and so I imagine that we will continue to tape a lot of the classes moving forward. So that might be available to our students. I know they're enjoying that right now, for sure, because when they see their math faculty break down a problem, they can go back and watch it over and over, rather than if they were furiously taking notes and they missed something. So that has been something nice that's come out of all of this. As far as other resources, I think, the resources truly are endless. And why I say that is the support is there. I think the challenge particularly is that students don't know they need help, right? And so Nick had already mentioned our electronic warning system. And so we do have a system where our faculty can go in and they have a threshold for each one of their classes, and they flag a student to say, hey, I'm a little bit concerned. You may have to pay a little bit more attention, or maybe come to my office hours, or seek tutoring services or supplemental instruction, because you're kind of in this, you're on the fence here. And so the idea is really to kind of send a notice to the student like, hey, we want you to seek help and come and see us. And so that is a system that the faculty flag the students. I actually get a copy of it myself, and Maria's on my team, and there's another assistant dean in the office, Leslie Mihaj. She also, the three of us, we follow up on those warnings. And a lot of times we're reaching out to students to just kind of check in and see how things are going. I will tell you, I think I had like 6 meetings today. Most of my meetings are really kind of talking to students about, it's really okay to ask for help. I know you got a D on that test, and I know you were a straight A student in high school or an AB student. I promise you it's going to be okay. You can just see the relief in their face. They're like, I got this. Okay, I can finish. I've only got a month, and then they're off and on their way. And then the only other final thing, I don't want to take up too much time, is faculty really want students to go to their office hours, and unfortunately the first year students don't go. So Maria had already mentioned, we love that our parents are our partners, but please encourage them to go see the faculty. Faculty hold those office hours for a reason, but the students just don't go. So and then here's the other thing, I'll hear this a little bit from families. If your student is saying there's no support, please let us know. Send me a note. It's really easy, just fye@rpi.edu, and I'll look into it. And the thing is if a student is struggling, we want to be able to help them. So don't hesitate. If we have a gap there, we want to try to fill it. So just let us know, and we'll do what we can to help you.
Great. We're going to kind of shift to some questions on the arch. So maybe, I mean, Janelle, you can stick around as well, but maybe if Philip could come on, just so we can kind of get that perspective. While we wait for Philip, there was also a question about how RPI and their students, faculty, and staff have been complying with social distancing and mask requirements in dorms, classrooms, out on campus. Do you want to answer that, Janelle, or you want me to take a stab at it?
Okay. So the question, I'm sorry, I missed it. I was trying to.
Yeah, so it was just how has RPI this year been complying with social distancing, mask requirements in the classroom, on campus, in the residence halls, those sort of things?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So I guess the only thing I'll say is, look at your student that is joining us. Our students are rule followers. They're really good students, and so they do abide by the rules. I think one of the things is they ask all of the right questions. Do I have to wear it when I'm in a suite and my roommate is? They ask all of the good questions, and so I will say, as far as a compliance, I'm really very happy about how our students are complying, and they're taking it serious. We've spent a lot of time and a lot of messaging to let them know how important it is to keep our community safe. And so I think they're doing a fabulous job. I know Peter's really kind of driving this, and he's at the helm of this with our medical director to make sure that our students know how important it is to take care of themselves, to take care of our faculty, and really the Rensselaer community. And I think they're doing a great job. So which the opposite side of that is the isolation. And so we're all really ready to see this year pass for sure. So they're doing a great job though.
Great, thanks, Janelle. So kind of segueing to a little bit to the arch, Philip, some people had some questions about the process for students kind of obtaining internships or co-ops for that arch semester. Is it difficult? What happens if they aren't able to get an internship co-op? Those sort of generalized questions.
Yeah, sure. The arch is a very important part of the RPI educational experience. And it's because it teaches you, as I mentioned earlier in the introduction piece, how to advocate for yourself. So if you heard what Janelle was just describing about how some freshmen don't necessarily go to faculty office hours, well, we want those same students to not only go to faculty office hours, but attend a career fair their freshman year. Not because they're expecting to get an opportunity there, but for the same reason that if you've ever been to a major theme park like Disney, the first time it's overwhelming. The second time you go, you know exactly what lines are worth standing in line for and what your goal is. So the sooner we can get the students to interact with us, the better we're going to be able to prepare them for those opportunities. Now, for your arch semester away experience, you can do an internship, which is a one semester and done kind of deal, a co-op, which is a multi-semester experience, a civic engagement, which is what it sounds like, working with a nonprofit or government agency. And then you can also do, hopefully soon, study abroad. That's kind of been COVIDized. So we can't do that at the moment, but soon. And then you can do study at another institution. So if you wanted to take a class in interpretive dance and you're a mechanical engineer, we don't offer that here. You could go do that for your semester away. And then the last one is what's called an independent learning experience. And that's open to anybody. You would also do research in that capacity. If you wanted to participate in some off-campus research experience, that would be an ILE. You could also, if you just really wanted to learn another language that semester, you could do that during your semester away. The semester away takes place during the student's junior year, and the students select whether it's a fall or a spring that they're going to spend away. If we know up front your freshman year, or even during the sophomore year, during your arch prep course, what your intentions are and what you want to do, and you're working with this, we're going to be able to help you locate those opportunities, prepare for them, and secure them. Like I said earlier, we have students who work at NASA, who go to Disney, who work wherever they want to throughout the world. So that's a big order to get every job that's in the world into our Handshake platform. We obviously can't do that. What we will do is find the ones that you're interested in and help you secure those. Again, we don't hand them out, because when you graduate and you go get a job, you're going to need to know how to do that. And we want you to learn that at the undergraduate level so you can, accelerate your career trajectory above those other schools that you have to choose from.
Great. Another question, how has COVID impacted internship, co-op opportunities, job placement? And do you see, looking into your crystal ball, do you see that changing over the next couple of years?
I mean, it's not been great for anyone in the world, I don't think, in terms of internships, co-ops, and civic engagement, which my office is responsible for. They sort of mirror what the workforce looks like. If you are pursuing a STEM degree, you're going to have a lot more options. If you are interested in more of a public service facing restaurant type situation, it's been really rough. Thankfully, we work at a top tier STEM institution. So, most like our parent Marcy was describing, some of those students' jobs were impacted, especially if they're in engineering and a manufacturing type environment. But we've seen those companies also pivot to a remote opportunity. Right now, we've got about 390 students that are out on assignment for this spring, and it breaks down to roughly a third are remote, a third are hybrid, and a third are in person. And it truly does vary by major. Again, if the student is interested in something and they let us know, we will be able to help them find an opportunity, and it will either be remote, hybrid, or in person.
Great. Next question's Marty Daniels. If you want to pop in, we can kind of answer some of the financial aid questions. Just a little bit more background about the ARCH program if you're not familiar with it. All students are required to participate in the ARCH program. So the ARCH program provides students with a semester away from Rensselaer, usually either during their fall or spring semester of their junior year. As was mentioned, during that semester away, trying to gain real life experience to kind of help you set yourself up for success down the road. So that can be internship, co-op, starting your own business, community service, formulating a business plan for a company. Lots of different options do exist for that ARCH semester away. Making up for that ARCH semester away, all students are required to spend their summer semester in between their sophomore and junior year on campus, taking their introductory kind of junior year level courses. So in terms of financial impact, it's negative, or it's what's the word I'm looking for, Marty?
It's cost neutral compared to
Cost neutral,
a normal enrollment year.
Yes, thank you, Marty. You'll still be attending classes, paying tuition for 8 semesters or 10 semesters if you're in the architecture program, or if you decide to do a co-terminal degree program. So it's still the 8 semesters or 10 semesters of coursework that you're paying tuition. But this ARCH program just really allows students with kind of a full 15 to 16 week, sometimes even longer, kind of an experience away from RPI to add to their resume. So it's been really successful. All students are required to participate in the program. There are some opportunities for waivers. Some ROTC programs have summer requirements. Some of our sports, winter sports that cross over fall and spring semester, there are opportunities for a waiver process. So Marty, just a couple of questions about financial aid. Are financial aid packages automatically renewed for each year that a student is enrolled at Rensselaer?
That is a great question. And the one thing I want to indicate is that we see an opportunity to improve our communication around this for families moving forward. So we appreciate that question. It's come up during our webinars as well. So for the renewal of aid, it breaks down into the type of aid determines the rule. So for merit awards like our medal scholarships and our leadership awards, those renew automatically as the student is generally able to return to the college academically. So what that means kind of at a detailed level is that we're not monitoring a GPA requirement for you to receive your merit scholarship back. Other schools, maybe you need a 3.5 for their top award or a 2.75 for this or that award. But for Rensselaer, it's already academically rigorous enough. So come in and focus on your academics. The merit awards will renew as long as you are in good academic standing, continuing through your degree program. For the need-based awards, that does require the review of the federal FAFSA form each year that the student advances to their next grade level. Part of that is because, for example, the student loan eligibility changes each year, and so they need to reconfirm student eligibility. But then for the need-based awards, that's where those are coming from for this current year. And so as long as the financial need is similar into the future years, the need-based awards are renewed as well.
Great. Another question from a parent was, if they did have questions about their package, are they assigned a particular staff member in your office? Should they just reach out in general, and or what would the best process do to get those questions answered on specific questions about their package?
Sure. A good way to start is really with either an email to our general address, which is finaid, FINAID, @rpi.edu. I'm sure Nick will pop that into the chat box here in a minute.
Yep, just added it. Yep.
Just added it there. And so that's a good way for, if you have a specific question at this time, we have a certain specialization amongst our staff. Well, we're also trying to process still relatively large volumes of applications for our whole student body. I mentioned that students are designated to an assistant director by last name. And so if it's a complex question that requires a more detailed review of the account, then they would be paired with the assistant director. Otherwise, our operations staff will try to answer, and we do have an assistant director on duty every day of the week, so that if a family calls in, they get that expert level view without maybe necessarily having their specific assistant director available.
Great, thanks so much. I think these next questions are going to be for Mary in the international office, so if you could pop on. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
And just to give everyone warning, probably the next set of questions are going to be for Maria and our two parent guests. So after Mary completes hers, we can kind of go to them. There's just a general question about if there are any changes to the visa process due to COVID restrictions or anything along those lines in general.
Okay, that's a great question. The actual visa process has not changed much. So there are, and I should back up and say that the visas are issued in each country, and each U.S. consulate in those countries are kind of specific in their processes. So the general process of getting a visa is all our incoming international students are issued a document, I-20, from admissions, and the student takes that document, I-20, along with their funding sources, their admission letter. They set up a visa appointment at their local consulate, and then they apply for their visa. Now, the things that we have seen changing, that have changed in the last year, we don't know if it's going to continue in the future. Essentially, consulates have been closed, right? And so the visa processing has been backlogged. And it seems that they are working through that now. There is movement actually in the federal government to really advocate for the Department of State and the consular offices to find ways to accommodate kind of the overflow of students, because there were a large number of students that were supposed to come in this last year that were not even able to apply for visas. And so in that way, that is where the process has, it's not a permanent change, it's a temporary kind of stalling for visas. And so I'm trying to think if there is any, what have we seen? Certain countries are more challenging. Our Chinese consulates have been particularly challenging, as well as our Indian consulates, simply just the sheer number of students and the backlog there. But the process itself has not changed, and I do know that consulates are opening now slowly, and especially with the visa application season is opening up. Students can only apply for their visa 120 days before the start of their program. So if our classes are starting August 30th, then they can really only apply 4 months ahead of time. So we're getting into that season now. And so hopefully, looking forward, we're hoping that will open up. As far as the visa regulations, there were some temporary kind of stays on certain parts of the F1 visa regulations during COVID. One of those in particular, the big one, was a restriction on online courses. And so we don't know exactly what's going to happen with those, but moving forward, we're kind of just We're advising students, let's just keep moving forward, apply for your visa, and if anything changes, we will let you know. But we're optimistic and positively moving forward on this with our international students.
Great, thanks so much, Mary.
Is there anything else, Nick, that you think that I should add in there?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's like you said, it's the process hasn't changed. It's just maybe the timeline a little bit, or the crowdedness of or the availability of appointments might be the thing that's changing the most.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Mary. So now Maria and our two parents, just a couple of questions. I'll be taking down feverish notes. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, so not there yet for college, but in a few short years, I know go by quickly, I'll be wanting your advice. So there was a question from someone in Southern California asking what is must-have winter clothing for a student studying in the Northeast to pack, or probably more than likely be easiest just to buy once you get to upstate New York. So Marcy, do you want to take that? I believe you're from New Jersey, is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're a little bit further south, but still get snow and ice and all that sort of fun stuff.
So I would definitely suggest boots, snow boots, not just boots, but snow boots with warm socks. Definitely, my son dresses in layers. We do see kids that are out with boots and shorts. It's this phenomena. They'll wear something heavy on the top and they'll wear shorts, but definitely boots, layers. So he'll have a shirt, a sweatshirt, a heavier winter coat for when it's sub-zero and it's icy and it's snowy, because it does get icy and cold. For athletes, definitely something for their hands when they're working out, masks, hats, hoodies, earmuffs. The dorms can be warm, so seriously think about layers.
Yeah. And there's plenty of places in the area to buy winter clothing. So if you're coming from Southern California, you probably don't need to pack it away with you when you're coming in August, because in August, there'll probably be days where it's 85 and humid. And then the next week, it could be 55 and rainy. But there's plenty of options. There's Walmarts, there's shopping malls, there's transportation in the area to kind of get all those items. Obviously, you can order anything online these days and have it shipped to you. So that's always great. Big difference from when I went to school 12 hours away years and years ago, where that really wasn't an option. Another question was, what is one piece of advice you wish you had given your child as they headed off to college? Kind of looking in hindsight.
Okay. And my son and I actually just had this conversation last night. We talked a lot about experiencing college, and our second year, we didn't really talk about what's after 4 years. We just started that maybe 2 years ago. And so what I suggest to parents is learn what the school has to offer. There's so much. I think many schools have a lot to offer. RPI has over 145 programs. They have dual programs. There's a co-term program. There's an accelerated PhD program. Learn that and understand what those are, if you can, together with your student during their first semester freshman year, because then that really determines what's going to happen next. And what you will find is that there are some companies that will come to RPI, and your student, my son went to the career fair in his freshman year, and he found out that there were some companies that said, you need a 3.5 to work for us. There are some programs where GPA may matter. And so first semester, we should have done it together. I would not have left it up to him. I would have done it with him, because they are so overwhelmed in adjusting to RPI. But if you're going to go past 4 years, that would be my best advice.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I know Samarpita was having trouble getting back on, so if she has something to add, I will try to share it. She's kind of texted me back. But one thing I will say just to add is part of the orientation, what we'll do as part of the parent programs is set you up with some conversation starters. And so one of the things that I would recommend, because this hasn't come up tonight, but it always comes up on the student ones that I've done, is to have a conversation about mental health with your student and have a kind of an honest assessment of where they're at and what their coping strategies are for when they do run into setbacks, or when they do start to have stress or get overwhelmed, or, who can they turn to, and what is kind of has been your journey so far with them. And understand that even if they've been fine up until this point, that during those ages of 18 to 22, 23, there's still so much growth that's happening, and there's still so many, things that can come up. And they may go through highs and lows, with their mental health, and we are here to support them. And our counseling center is heavily involved in our orientation program as well. So just because it didn't come up tonight, I wanted to mention that, and that would be my advice, is just start having those conversations about mental health. And our counseling center is absolutely wonderful. We have a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and several social workers and licensed mental health counselors as well, all of which kind of fall under this umbrella of therapist, which your student can see regularly while they're with us. So just wanted to mention that.
Next couple of questions, I'm going to go to Peter, but Maria, maybe you can just answer. I know this isn't technically in your division portfolio, but just some questions for support for female students on campus that are available.
Sure, yeah. Janelle mentioned our Persist mentoring program, and we work really hard to have a diverse pool of mentors, and for all of our student leadership positions, really, RAs or our student orientation advisors, which you'll meet this summer. But one of the programs that we do have that students can get involved in that is sort of a club, but also on the academic side, is the Women's Mentoring Program. And there's also the Society of Women Engineers. And I know that there are others, but those are the two big ones that come to mind. A lot of our young women really thrive in those organizations and kind of find their sort of sisterhood on campus. And I will say, as and as John was mentioning about our incoming class, women, especially women in STEM, has just grown so much. And so you can't just grow the population, you have to grow the support along with it. And so that's the demand for those programs has really grown. So I'm happy to connect anybody once you kind of get started, if you're looking for those opportunities.
And I know there's a question about kind of percentage. It's around 30% female on our campus overall. It does vary from kind of major to major or school to school. But the female students are really active on our campus in terms of, I know in our office we have student ambassadors, and probably 70% of our student ambassadors are female, just because they really do want to engage and talk and kind of share their lessons with those who are coming up the pipeline from high school. Thanks so much, Maria. Peter, just a couple of questions in general about athletics, and I know the Department of Athletics kind of falls under your portfolio. Yeah. Just kind of the relationships between academics and athletics, and what kind of commitment that there is, and the strain or stress that a student athlete might find, but also how RPI supports student athletes and making sure that they're successful both on the court or field, but also in the classroom.
Sure. Can you hear me, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple things. Two or three things I just would mention right off the bat. First, our student athletes are exemplary, and they actually complete in terms of retention grades and 6-year graduation rates higher than the average students. They really are scholar athletes. They work hard on and off the field. Secondly, I would say a lot of that direction and leadership comes from their coach and the support they get from the coach. And third, the infrastructure in athletics, from our athletic director to our compliance specialists to our sports supervisors, everybody is constantly monitoring and making sure that our student athletes are performing both, as you just said, on the field, on the ice, in the pool, and also in the classroom. And the reality is most of our student athletes are not going to become pro, but they're going to be contributing members of society and follow our mantra of why not change the world. So we want to make sure they have a great academic experience, and the athletic opportunities at ECAV and across campus are just, they're world renowned. We have some of the best facilities, and I say that with a great point of pride, and fortunate to work with our athletic director and our teams and coaches. And so that's one of the reasons we're so excited to be able to see them back in action. They'll start back up in action on not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. And these are our spring sport athletes who've been working all year with their coaches, virtually training to stay in top condition, to be ready to compete, starting the weekend of the 16th. So.
Great. Thanks so much. And then there's been a lot of academic questions, and certainly we could kind of touch upon those. But I think we have a lot of webinars coming up from the Department of Admissions, including some accepted student celebrations. So I'm just going to type in the chat box the link to sign up for those. Each of our 5 schools and many of our majors have their own programs. You can meet with professors. You can meet with faculty members, with students. The Accepted Student Celebration has a great academic overview from all of our schools. So I'd really encourage you to kind of reach out to those. I'm also going to pop in the chat box a couple of email addresses. So if there was a question that wasn't answered this evening, and you'd like to follow up with us, you can reach out right to the admissions office. admissions@rpi.edu. We also do have an email address that's monitored by our student ambassadors. So they're current students who are student leaders who work in our office, in the admissions office, and are involved throughout campus in a variety of different clubs, activities, majors. So if you wanted to ask a question from from parent to student, or if you wanted to provide the information to your son or daughter, they can reach out and have that conversation. So what is it like to be a biomedical engineering student, or what is the RPI Players all about? We can track down and connect you with someone in those particular offices. Also, I'll drop in the chat box the opportunity, another way to connect with some current students. The Rensselaer's National Residence Hall Honorary Society has set up a calendar, and they're going to be online in their WebEx spaces. If you go to that Google Doc there, you click on the link. It lists the times that they're available, it lists the students that are available, talks about their majors, what they're involved with. So you can check out that, and you can kind of connect with those ways as well. But I know your time is valuable, so we just wanted to make sure that we got as many questions as possible to be answered. But like I said, if there is any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to our office, admissions@rpi.edu. And if we can't answer the question personally, we'll make sure it gets into the hands of those who can answer that question around campus. One of the great things about working at Rensselaer is everyone is in this together, everyone works together, everyone really supports our students, making sure that they are both happy and healthy, both in and out of the classroom. Thank you to all of our panelists for joining us this evening. Thank you for joining us this evening, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.